Matthew chapter 14 verse 22 gives us a specific account of how Jesus walked on water. And when he was walking, he called out to Peter to join him. And guess what? Peter joined him while on water. Peter walked on water also. But then looking at the storm around, Peter lost faith and began to drown before he called out to Jesus, "Lord, save me." We've all been through trials and tribulations and have all gone through very, very tough times. But then, what do we need to do? We need to hold on to faith. Stay tuned because on this episode, we will be talking about having faith even in the face of challenges.
As a computer science student, we face different challenges when trying to carry out some basic operations using our computers. Challenges such as bugs, virus, and the likes, but with the help of some cool technologies, we are able to overcome such problems. Now, looking at this, those cool technologies are what we're seeing as our faith. Faith is a supernatural gift from God that keeps us going through difficult situations. Now, just the way some cool technologies help us to overcome some problems while using our computers, so is the same way faith helps us to overcome difficulties in life. Considering Daniel and his 3 friends when they were thrown into the pit of fire, their faith in God was able to save them and deliver them. Are you going through difficulties in life, facing any problem? I leave you with this. Have faith in God and God will see you through. Amen.
Welcome back, Saints. It's still Catholic Faith Forum, brought to you by Dominican Media. I am Mariana Utam, and as I said before I went on that break, we are talking about faith, having faith rather, even in the face of challenges. In the studio with me is a beautiful, magnificent, well-educated woman sitting right beside me, and she's ready to break and pieces this topic into bits so that you can understand fully. And who am I talking about? I'm talking about Miss Mary Ekemezie. She is a legal practitioner and a pro-life and pro-family advocate, and she's here to decipher this topic for us. Welcome to the studio, Ma.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you very much for honoring our invite. Hope the journey over to this place was okay.
It was good. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much for coming over. So yes, let's dive into this question, the questions that we have today, because there are a whole lot. What do we as Catholics define faith as?
Let's see if I remember my penny catechism. I think faith is a supernatural gift from God that enable us to doubt, that enable us to believe without doubting whatever God has revealed.
Okay. So what does it mean to have this faith that you've talked about now, even in the face of challenges?
I would say that faith in the face of challenges, it's literally trusting that even this will pass. So that's something I say to myself when life happens, and that's something the phrase I use often, life happens.
Yeah.
I just keep reminding myself that even this will pass, even this will pass.
Okay,
but
more
it's
like
also,
trusting the process.
Yeah, but it's also a time to speak to God about it. And sometimes I, like the proverbial sort of wrestle with God, I ask questions, why?
Okay.
What are you trying to do through this process? Sometimes I get answers. Sometimes I don't get answers. Of course, I know his answer, but sometimes I don't have any clarity. But the one thing is clear is that through that process, I grow. I mature as a person. I gain a bit more understanding of what God is doing. And I think that if I look back at my life, I can say that it's been a journey, pretty much in the same way that he treats us when we're kids, how your parents were kids and they give you milk and semi-solids, and then as you grow, I think that I can see that sort of journey too, where he's brought me through. You pray and everything is answered, and then you pray and things are not answered, and you're struggling. And I've had a couple of that. I think that the biggest, well, the first, not the biggest, but the first sort of major time when I had to, this faith that you have in God, right, was when I lost my brother. Incidentally, I knew the day before he died that it was time. It was weird. But from the conversations I could tell, so the one thing I was focused on, let's get him a priest so that if he dies, he's going to heaven.
Yeah.
I've been ill for a long time. So we got a priest. The priest came, and I just went back to keep praying. But, I just got the sense the Lord was saying, Mary, let's go. And I didn't want to let go. I'm thinking, what do you mean let go? My brother is amazing, and he was an amazing brother. And then when he died, I was upset. Very upset. I'm a Jesus baby. I still call myself that, but I was really upset. Why would you let him go? We've prayed so long, all the things. And I spoke to a priest about it. And he said, well, Mary, you have to trust that God knows what he's about. You have to trust that even in this, it is for good. That was my first real practical. I've been praying for something. I wanted a particular answer, but he gave me another answer. But even that answer was an answer. I just wasn't ready. And I think he wanted me to get to the point where he realized that the fact that it is a no in human terms does not mean that it's a no. And looking back now, it was the best thing that happened to my brother. He had been ill for so long. He got the final rites, and then he slipped into sleep and he died. And I'm like, come on. At least there's some certainty that he's going to a better place. So I can look back and be grateful, but then trust him. it was a struggle.
So yes, you just talked about your own phase. So how can someone still have faith, exercise that faith that they have when things are going well, even in the time of difficulty?
I think that the journey with God is a very personal one. And like I tell my friends and I tell persons I come in contact with, you need to take God at his word, but you also need to quote and unquote test him. He says, test and see. He says, come.
Yeah.
So you need to actually take him on his word and just do quote and unquote battle, wrestle with him. What is it that is going on that you don't seem to have answers about? And what I find is that when you are truly seeking his face, even in the midst of incredible challenges, he is holding you, many times carrying you. He is also providing support. What I find the challenge is that we want an answer. And so we're praying that God will confirm the answer we want.
That we have already.
So we're not willing to listen to the answer that is his answer.
Yeah.
And so that right there is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
So I think that the first point in the place of journey is, so first of all, trust in the goodness of God. Trust that he's got my back. He loves me. He genuinely wants the best for me. But also look out for what I call moments of grace. So even in the midst of incredible suffering, there is grace, there is help. It'll be sometimes in the midst of a friend who calls you up to cheer you up, or an unexpected lunch on a day
like that.
or
right.
a promotion, or just something. It is impossible. At least that is something I found. So I started paying attention to that. And it was a priest that I was listening to his talk, and he was talking about how he was ministering to a father whose son had been shot. And it was an incredibly sad journey.
All right, sorry, Ma, I'll have to interrupt you there. We will continue this particular story after this break because we need to get to know who the Saint of the Week is. Over to you, Mary Ann.
Our Saint of the Week is Saint Apollinaris of Ravenna. He was born in Antioch, Syria, now in modern-day Turkey. It's uncertain what his date of birth is, actually. Saint Apollinaris was made the first bishop of Ravenna by Saint Peter himself. Now, while in Ravenna, he performed many miracles and preached the gospel in a great way to the people, and this did not go down well with the local pagans and government officials. True enemies plenty. He was beaten and chased away from the city, but he bravely returned. If he is, he may do him too. For a second time, he was arrested again and tortured by being compelled to walk on hot coals, as in charcoal egbono, yes, and later expelled again from Ravenna. Now, wow. Anyway, let me bust your head. He returned again for the third time, but was captured again, pierced with knives. Hot water was poured over his wounds and his mouth was stoned in order to disable him from preaching again. He was later thrown into a hole to starve to death, but after 4 days, he was loaded on a ship and exiled to Greece. Now he preached and worked miracles in Greece, but after cruel beatings, he was exiled again to Ravenna, Italy, when Emperor Vespasian reigned. He was strong, I must say. Now, the pagans complained to the emperor, who thereafter decreed that the Christians be banished from Ravenna. You know when they say somebody's bad belly? This is it. While the Christians were leaving the city, Saint Apollinaris was identified and arrested as their leader. He was taken to Classis, a suburb 4 miles from Ravenna, tortured and pierced with a sword. He didn't even die there. He died 7 days later from the wounds. He was Bishop of Ravenna for 26 years. St. Romuald would say that St. Apollinaris appeared to him in a vision many centuries later. His feast day is celebrated as an optional memorial on July 20th in the Catholic Church. St. Apollinaris is the patron saint against gout, epilepsy, and diseases of the sexual organs. I must say that he was really a strong fighter. And so we say, St. Apollinaris of Ravenna, pray for us.
Thank you very much, Mary Ann, for that wonderful delivery. We're still talking about that wonderful topic, having faith even in the face of challenges. And I have with me here Miss Mary Ekemezie, and she will be continuing right now. So, yes, you can take us away.
Okay, and so this priest had, he was incredibly sad and was thinking a young boy, I think was about 16. And so he was dejected, just sitting on the steps in the hospital. And he said, while I was sitting there dejected, another priest walked by and sat by me. And they conversed for a bit. And the priest said, and it was something I took away, he said that right there in the midst of my pain and my anguish, for the boy had died, for the father who was grieving, God had provided a bit of reprieve. And for some time, I could look beyond that pain. I was well. And that's something that I have taken that lesson. And so even in the midst of challenges, I'm looking for what I call moments of grace, reprieves along the journey. And if you're paying attention to that, you will find there are quite a few. But like I said, part of the challenge that we want God to confirm our answers, and that's another story on its own.
Yeah. Okay, so we have different belief systems, practices, societal, and the rest of them. So how do these belief systems and spiritual practices affect one's ability to have faith in the face of adversity?
I think that the problem is when your identity isn't rooted in the Christian faith. There are several ideologies flying around. There's the, what is it called? Feminist movement. There is a very materialistic ideology. There is the humanist principle. And if you are not paying attention, because again, we live in the middle of the world, it is easy for you to soak up all of this. You've heard people say, the universe. And the universe will conspire to make it come. I'm wondering, who's the universe? And so it's a very catchy phrase. And before you know it, you imbibe it and you begin to say it. But then, when you then come, it then causes friction for you. So the one thing that has helped, and which I have, through the lives of saints I have read, and even through my friends and my spiritual directors and the persons who accompany me on my faith journey, the one thing I have seen that has kept them going is that the identity, the first identity for them is their Christian faith. So that is the bedrock on which every other thing flows.
Okay.
And so if you do that, you're less likely to have this conflict. Or even when the conflict arises, you're able to deal with it. Okay. The challenge is when your Christian identity is just one more identity. That is where the problem is.
Yeah. Okay, so you've said a lot already. But then we'll be going on a breather right now in order for us to know our faith. Over to you, Jeffrey.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of Know Your Faith. Today we're going to learn the story of Saint Dominic and the Rosary. Story. Once upon a time. Now guys, in the 11th through the 13th centuries, a heretical doctrine develops in Europe. Now this teaching, called Albigensianism, taught that only the spiritual is good and that everything material is bad. Now therefore, the body in and of itself is evil, and every person's soul is imprisoned in that evil body. Hey, the only way in which a person could experience salvation was to be freed from the imprisonment of their flesh. Dominic de Guzman, a Spanish priest, traveled into France preaching against the Albigensian heresy, but his efforts gained few conversions and even fewer followers. Now in 1208, he went into a forest near Toulouse, France, to pray, asking God to provide what he needed in order to overcome the Albigensian heresy. Now, ancient account tells us that after 3 days of prayer and fasting, 3 angels appeared in the sky along with a ball of fire. Now, when they disappeared, the Virgin Mary spoke, telling the priest, that's referring to Dominic, that he must preach her Psalter in order to succeed in his struggle to overcome the Albigensians. Now, the Marian Psalter was a prayer developed by the Cistercians, which involved praying 150 Hail Marys divided into groups of 10 by their fathers. Now, prayer beads were used to keep track of the Hail Marys. It was not a meditative prayer though, nor one that would have been preached. Mary revealed to Saint Dominic which mysteries should be preached to correspond to the Psalter prayers. Now, the stories of Christ's life, which directly contradicted the heresy of the Albigensians by focusing on the incarnation, death, and triumphant resurrection of Jesus Christ. As Father Reginald Garrigou-Lagrange, great Dominican theologian of the 20th century, said, "What the word of the preacher was unable to do, the sweet prayer of the Hail Mary did for heart." Now ultimately, that sweet prayer would come to be called the Rosary, a wreath of roses that would lead to countless conversions and miracles, not the least of which was overcoming the Albigensian heresy. Now Pope Leo XIII said, thanks to this new method of prayer, piety, faith, and union began to return to France, and the projects and devices of the heretics to fall to pieces. Now in 1213, only 5 years after St. Dominic was given the Rosary, Catholic forces under the joint command of Count Simon de Montfort and St. Dominic were set to fight the Albigensians in Muret, a small town near Toulouse, France. Now the Albigensians were determined to take over France, further spreading their heretical beliefs. Now Catholics, of course, were determined to fight for Christ. Unfortunately, reinforcements had failed to arrive for the Catholic forces and the numbers were bleak. The Catholic had only 1,500 men, while their foes had 30,000. Guys, 1,500 to 30,000. Confident of their upcoming success, the Albigensians spent the night before the battle celebrating in drunkenness and debauchery. They played physically. The Catholics, on the other hand, spent their nights praying the Rosary. Their celebration was focused on that of the Mass and the Sacrament of Reconciliation, that is, confession. Now finally, St. Dominic went to the Church of St. Jacques in Muret to pray the Rosary for victory, while the Count went into battle. The Catholics were able to rush upon the hungover Albigensians, routing the enemy army and declaring a victory for Christ and Our Lady. After the battle, every Catholic in the area attributed the victory to the Rosary. Now, while the Albigensian sect continued to exist, its territory expansion ceased and it never again reached the massive numbers it enjoyed prior to the Battle of Muret. Now, as we continue to fight against heretics of one sort or another in our current day and age, St. Dominic remains a hero to be remembered, even more so the Rosary, a gift given by Our Lady all those years ago, remains a vital tool in winning the battle of good versus evil and truth versus falsehood. That will be all for today, guys. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and share this video to your friends and family. Also do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominican Media. Till next time, be bold, be Catholic.
Thank you very much for that delivery, Jeffrey. Back to you, Miss Mary. So I want to ask, are there certain common misconceptions about having faith in challenging times that, people see through? Are there misconceptions, things that people
I
feel
think that one of the things I have seen in our community, in our society, is that people think that having faith means that they don't have to apply reason. And that is a problem. Like, and this is one of the problems I have with the fact that right now faith is almost spiritualized, such as it doesn't have a tangible element, right? Faith without works is useless. It's dead.
Yeah, it's dead.
So, for instance, if you're looking for a job, it makes absolutely no sense to me that you spend your entire day in church. Today and tomorrow and 1 week and 2 weeks and 1 month and 2 months. Are you kidding me? But I see that. Oh, we're going to the mountain. Oh yeah, please by all means go to the mountain. But please come down very quickly and submit your CV. So that's the first challenge I see. The second challenge, misconception about faith, is that because I'm a Christian, which is what I call the prosperity or the materialistic Christianity, because I'm a Christian, then no evil can come to me. That is a lie from the pits of hell.
At that point, they
It
will even come for
doesn't
you the more.
mean that because you're a Christian or you have faith,
Yeah.
that life will not happen. That's not true. What it means, though, is that the life happens and you're able to see God's hands in that. It is a time to grow in faith. It's a time to witness to the goodness of God. And I have seen very beautiful witness for God when people are bereaved. And you can see that they're pained, but they're not literally crying like who don't have hope. Because whoever they were accompanying through that phase before the person died had taken steps to take the final rites. They themselves had been praying, but also being open to the fact that, well, what God wants might not be a recovery. It might be that part of this process will lead to that.
Okay, so I want to ask this question now. Is there a difference between blind faith and informed faith?
Yeah, blind faith is just thinking that as long as I pray and as long as, I claim to be a daughter of God or a son of God, all will be well. Informed faith requires you to do your part. It requires you, and again, I see this many times particularly when people are facing debt or facing news that is unpleasant. It's not my portion. I find that language very fascinating. Whose portion is it? Does God
I do get
actually
you.
find it? I have a friend and she makes me laugh all the time. She says, Mary, when they say God, how we pray for mercy, she said, please, is there anybody that God will not have mercy on? What makes you think you're exempt from the sufferings of life? I think that is what the times in which we live in, one of the dangers of a time where we have stripped our faith of its meaning. There is no faith without a cross. You see, the resurrection happened after the cross.
The crucifixion.
So
Very
there has got
important.
to be a cross. So this crossless Christianity that we find is what I call blind faith. It's not real.
Okay.
It's not part of God's plan.
Okay, so what can we do to boost our faith?
Prayer. In the first place, prayer, and more prayer. And being consistent. What I would say is start off with some of the prayers I learned from as a child. I start my day every day with a morning offering.
Yeah.
And I literally give my day to God. Now, of course, through the day, I try to renew that offering by sort of checking in with Jesus. But what I have also done is scatter certain devotions along the way. And you can pick and choose depending on sort of what agrees with you. But start the day with the basic prayers, morning offering, prayer to your guardian angel, prayer to St. Michael, very efficient, very efficient. Try and have the Holy Mass. Do it in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening, but the Holy Mass, if you can't do every day, maybe 2 or 3 times a week.
All right. So
and the rosary, very
very
important.
important.
The rosary, very, very, very important.
Okay, so very, very quickly, we're short of time already. How can having faith influence one's personal outlook of life?
Having faith will make your life richer in ways, in ways that will blow your mind.
Okay.
You will see God in action. And I will share a personal testimony. So when I was just a very rookie lawyer, I was working on a transaction. It was a real estate transaction. And I did not know that I was not supposed to submit original documents. So I submitted original documents to the officials at the land registry. And then they said, oh, Mary, where are these documents? I said, I gave it to them. I said, huh? You did what? You need to go and get those documents. Now, of course, we all live in Nigeria. You know what it means to have given the wrong documents. So I went to the land registry, spent almost the entire day. Nobody was talking to me. They were busy, or so they said. Eventually, somebody said, checked through the file. All of that time I was praying, I had asked one of my friends, look, I'm going for this. Work with me in prayer. And all of that time, I was, just talking to God. And they came and said, oh, Mary, they told me, madam, the police are investigating this company. So they took the original documents. Sorry, excuse you? Yes, ma. I said, okay, no problems. Which police station? Funny enough, he gave me the details. So I went off to the police station. I don't know anybody there. This is Nigeria.
Yeah.
So I said, well, Lord, I need these original documents. I sat down, waited. I told them, oh, I'm here to see the ACP. Does he have appointments? No, I don't have. But he has some documents. I was told it is here. And if I come, madam, he's not, I will wait for him. I waited, and the man did come. I was just waiting and waiting. And he eventually said, oh, madam, he said you should come. I came. I said, oh, good afternoon, sir. This is why I came, and X, Y, Z. So I said, what do you want me to do? He said, well, sir, I want you to give me back the originals. You can make photocopies for your records. Believe you me, this policeman, if I was a senior officer, photocopied it himself, took his photocopies and gave me my originals. Every single time I remember this, I know there is a God, and he was truly looking up for me. What would I have done?
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that, and if you're being honest, there's so many of those stories that sometimes you don't pay attention to. Faith helps you remember. What I think with faith is that it is a remembering, to just recall the goodness of God.
Okay.
And if you keep remembering his goodness and keep remembering his words, and sometimes also just remember those stories, right? I love the story about the Israelites crossing the Red Sea. Every time I imagine it, it blows my mind, literally. Walls of water.
All right. All right. Thank you very, very much for that very captivating episode.
Thank
You
you
have
for
said
having me.
this your story at the end. It will touch a lot of lives, because there are a lot of people who are scared of making a certain move because they are scared. Okay, probably they will lose something, and they don't have strong enough faith to actually pull them through that adversity that they are facing. But then you've said a lot already concerning this topic, and I'm very sure my listeners out there have gotten all the necessary information that they need when it comes to being able to have faith even in the face of adversity. Thank you very much, Ma, for being on this program.
Thank you very much for having me. It
Yes,
was a pleasure.
thank you. Thank you very much. You've said a lot, and you really, really enlightened us on this particular topic. And to you out there, please begin to exercise your faith. Don't have doubt, because even doubt is a sin. So try your very best to keep having faith no matter the challenges or the storms that you're facing in your daily lives. And that's where we bring it to a wrap. This is Catholic Faith Forum. Make sure you follow us on every social media platform at CFF on TV. Like this video, subscribe, and give us a comment in the comment section. Thank you very much for listening. Till next time, keep being saints in jeans and shirt. Bye for now.